Yo, what is up guys? Stelboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, hit subscribe, hit the like, all of that good stuff. So, a quick preview and prediction for Ohara Davies versus Tyrone Mckenna. This fight is actually the final of the MTK Golden Contract Tournament at Super Lightweight. And I have to be honest, I actually think this is a really interesting competitive fight. I'm really looking forward to it. And quite frankly, I've actually really enjoyed the MTK Golden Contract tournaments. I think they've provided some really good boxing. Yeah, there's been a couple of bad decisions here and there, but for the most part, we've seen some pretty good boxing, so hopefully we see MTK carry out more tournaments in the future. But yeah, Ohara Davies versus Tyrone Mckenna. Let's briefly talk about the tail of the tape. Ohara Davies has a record of 21 wins, 2 defeats, 0 draws, 16 of those 21 wins coming by way of a knockout, and Tyrone Mckenna has a record of 21 wins, 1 defeat, 1 draw, 6 of those 21 wins coming by way of knockout. Ohara Davies is listed as 5'7", I can't find his reach anywhere, whereas Tyrone Mckenna is listed as 6'1". And once again, I can't find Tyrone Mckenna's reach anywhere. So Tyrone Mckenna is the bigger super lightweight. However, despite him being a lot taller, I'm actually not convinced that he's got longer arms than Ohara Davies. Ohara Davies has freakishly long arms for a guy who's 5'7", and you know, they can certainly be a weapon in this fight in my opinion. But we'll get into that a bit later. Ohara Davies is an orthodox fighter and Tyrone Mckenna is a southpaw. Ohara Davies is 28 and Tyrone Mckenna is 30, so both guys are in their primes. So yeah, now the tail of the tape is out of the way, how do we see this fight going? I have to say, I do actually tend to agree with the bookies in regards to this fight. Ohara Davies is a favourite, and I agree with that, to be honest. You know, for such a tall guy, Tyrone Mckenna really does a poor job at maintaining and managing distance and keeping his opponents behind his jab. You know, for such a tall, rangy guy, particularly from the southpaw stance, you would think that he would work on that and actually master that, you know, make the most of his physical attributes. But that's really not how he fights. He struggles to keep fights behind his jab, and he struggles to box and move effectively. Tyrone Mckenna actually enjoys a bit of a scrap, to be honest, you know. He's pretty good at mid-range, and he's actually fairly decent on the inside for such a lanky guy. And he actually brings fairly good pressure, he maintains a good work rate, and yeah, he's a bit of a scrapper really, Tyrone Mckenna. And I wonder, against Ohara Davies, could that be his undoing? Now don't get me wrong, we know Ohara Davies has a lot of flaws. First and foremost, you know, the guy is kind of limited and he can be outboxed. We saw that against Josh Taylor. And in the Josh Taylor fight, we also saw that the guy potentially is lacking that fighting spirit. You know, he quit in that fight. And even in the Jack Catterall fight, Ohara Davies, you know, was fighting with a real low work rate, a real low volume, and essentially he kind of just got picked off in that fight and lost a close points decision. So Ohara Davies' lack of work rate is also a real problem in my opinion, and potentially that's actually an area where Tyrone Mckenna can have real success. I certainly believe he's more busy than Ohara Davies, but the problem is, despite all of those flaws from Ohara Davies, Ohara Davies definitely punches really hard, especially at domestic level. You know, he can really crack. And when you're fighting a guy like Tyrone Mckenna, whose defense leaves a lot to be desired, then Ohara Davies is going to get a chance to land that big right hand, in my opinion, whether it to be body or head. You know, there's a lot of body to aim at, and, you know, the head's not exactly hard to find with Tyrone Mckenna, so I'll be honest, I'm really not convinced that Tyrone Mckenna can avoid that right hand, and I'm not convinced that he can take it. Tyrone Mckenna was down and hurt quite badly a couple of times against Jack Catterall. I don't think Catterall hits anywhere near as hard as Ohara Davies. He's a much better boxer, but I don't think he hits as hard. And yeah, if Tyrone Mckenna is getting hurt by Jack Catterall, then I certainly believe that Ohara Davies has enough power to knock this guy out. I really do. And yeah, I think Ohara Davies is going to be Ohara Davies. He's going to be kind of sitting back behind that kind of side-on profile, behind that shoulder, and he's going to be looking for that hard right hand down the pipe. Whereas McKenna's going to be coming forwards, you know, kind of upright, kind of statuesque, trying to come behind a jab, and he'll try and outwork Ohara Davies. But for me, the power differential in this fight is going to be too big for Tyrone Mckenna to overcome, and I don't believe he's got the defense or the boxing skills to avoid that shot for 12 rounds. Now, another thing to consider going into this fight is the momentum of both guys going into the final. Ohara Davies has beaten Logan Yoon, who was an unbeaten American prospect, and he's also beaten Jeff Ofori. Now, Ohara Davies won both of these fights by knockout, and in particular, the Logan Yoon fight, that was one of Ohara Davies' best career performances, in my opinion. So he's actually coming into this final in pretty decent form, to be honest. Whereas Tyrone Mckenna, I personally felt he lost that fight, his last fight, to Mohamed Mamouneh. That was the semi-final. In the first round, in the quarterfinals, he beat Miki Sakyi in a fairly impressive fashion. But in my opinion, he lost that semi-final to Mohamed Mamouneh, and he basically got a gift decision. I personally felt Mamouneh completely outboxed Tyrone Mckenna, once again kind of exposing McKenna's lack of an outside game and lack of technical ability from distance, you know. So yeah, man, even going into this fight, if we're talking about momentum, I still think that favours Ohara Davies. Obviously, Ohara Davies had that bad performance against Miguel Vasquez before the tournament, but if we're talking about just the tournament in general, then Ohara Davies has looked better. There's no doubt about it. And I do make him a favourite going into this fight. You know, I could see a scenario where McKenna is up on points based on work rate, but ultimately I just see this guy catching a big shot and not being able to recover. That's how I see this fight playing out, basically. Ohara Davies is going to land that perfect shot that renders Tyrone Mckenna unable to continue. If I was Tyrone Mckenna, given my lack of long-range boxing ability, maybe I would actually get on Ohara Davies' chest and try to smother him, because Ohara Davies, he's a guy who, you know, when he throws that right hand, he generates power by really winding it up, and he needs a bit of space to get full power into that right hand. If you're on his chest and really swarming him, maybe Tyrone Mckenna can actually take that power away and outwork him that way and win on points. Maybe that's Tyrone McKenna's best bet. I just don't see him having the boxing ability to box round Ohara Davies for 12 rounds and avoiding that right hand. I don't see it. So maybe, you know, getting on Ohara's chest could be a beneficial and a winning strategy. Who knows, man? But I think it's a competitive fight. I think both guys will have success, but ultimately, I've got Ohara Davies winning this fight by knockout. Just think he hits too hard, to be honest. And yeah, Tyrone Mckenna doesn't have the defense to get through this fight. That's how I see it. So I'm going with Ohara Davies by knockout. I'm not really going to pick a round or even a time period in the fight when it takes place. But I think Ohara Davies knocks this guy out at some point. That's my prediction. Yeah, man. Feel free to comment below. Who's your pick? Do you think Ohara Davies is going to win? Do you think Tyrone McKenna is going to win? Share your thoughts below. Peace.